It is now 6 o'clock by the official clock. This meeting of the Middletown City Historic Commission and regularly scheduled meeting for May 15th, 2025 is now called to order. Can we please have a roll call?
Corey Carter.
Here.
Matthew Dixon.
Here.
Roger Daniel. Gabe Shaneline.
Here.
Anthony Rossi.
Here.
Andy Brickler.
We have a quorum. First item on the agenda are the meeting minutes for the regularly scheduled meeting of April 17th, 2025. Has everybody received a copy?
Yes. Yep.
Has everybody had an opportunity to review them?
Yes.
Does anybody have any additions, corrections, or changes that they wish to suggest?
No.
Do we have a motion?
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor of approval of the meeting minutes of April 17th, 2025, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. The meeting minutes of the regularly scheduled meeting of the Middletown City Historic Commission for April 17th, 2025 have been approved. The next item on the agenda is the certificate of appropriateness for 304 the Alameda in the Highlands Historic District for a new single-car garage. Do we have a staff report?
Yes, would you guys like to hear the staff report again? It's the same as last meetings. Although we do have the applicant here to speak tonight to answer some of the questions that you all brought up from the last meeting.
Does anybody wish to make a motion to waive the staff report? Second.
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
I say sign, is that what you said?
Yes.
Sign. I mean, have you? No.
Same sign as.
We might want to give Anthony an opportunity to hear it if he hasn't listened to it yet.
All right.
Sorry. Yeah.
All right, so this is the certificate of appropriateness request at 304 the Alameda. It's located in the Highlands Historic District. And the requested action is the issuance of a certificate of appropriateness for the construction of a single-car garage. It will be a 16 by 20 gable style that matches the existing house. It will have a concrete footer and will be finished out in white wood siding with a metal roof. The property history: 304 the Alameda property was built in 1914 and is zoned as a residential property. It is a 0.34 acre lot, and the interior of the property is approximately 2,200 square feet. It was last sold in November of 2019. Again, the applicant is proposing the construction of a single-car garage. Detached, I should mention. This is the Middletown Development Code outlining the certificate of appropriateness process. Other approvals and permits required will be a certificate of zoning compliance. This is the time limit, appeals process. This is the receipt that they have paid. This is their original application for their certificate of appropriateness. This is their design. This is their site plan. This is an aerial view of the property. I have also included this view as well. It's a little bit more crisp. And then this is the alleyway leading into the rear of the property. Based on conversation I had with the property owner, I felt that this image might be helpful for tonight's discussion. And then that concludes my staff report.
Preliminary matter, would all persons that are going to testify before the Historic Commission tonight please raise their right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that any testimony you give today will be the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. The applicant is present for this application.
Correct.
Does the applicant wish to address the commission? If you'll please step up to the lectern here and please state your full name and address for the record.
My name is Tracy Hamilton, address 304 The Alameda, Middletown, Ohio.
And you're under oath.
Yes.
If you'd like to address the commission.
Yes, so I think we spoke a bit on the phone, but after thinking this through and looking at the drawings, we'd like to make some changes, and I have some new renderings. And basically, instead of building a one-car 16 by 20 right next to the existing garage and trying to make it look similar or match, which it will never really match, we would like to propose to do a two-car garage and have it further down the property line and have the garage doors actually open up into the alley. So if you could bring up that aerial shot. So right now, oh, thank you. So right now, we have an old shed that's sitting on the corner. I don't know if it's there. If you just can't see it, it's at the very bottom corner. So, yeah, there we go. I think it actually might even be farther over. So essentially, this is three narrow parcels. And so the other parcel goes over quite a good deal. And I don't even think you see it all in the picture. But what we would like to do is build the second garage over here in the very far left corner, and then have the garage doors open up and go out into this back alley, which is, very similar to most all the garages down through the alley. So that way it wouldn't be, obviously it wouldn't be right up next to this one. And then we've also would like to go more towards a design that better matches the overall look of the property. And so it would have, like, if we don't do brick, if it's allowed, we would like to look into doing the brick panels that look like brick. Or if it has to be brick, then we can do brick, but it would have the overhang and the corbels, and I can pass these around if that's helpful to look at these, but it would have a lot of the characteristics of our existing house and garage. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, and then here's a new. Well, we were thinking to go with a shingled roof, or if need be, we were hoping if it needed to be the clay tile look, we could do like the faux clay tile, which would give the same appearance but wouldn't be nearly as expensive as the clay tile.
Do we have a photo of the front of the house like we had last time?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, this is your time, I didn't mean to.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Does the commission have any questions for the applicant?
You would see some of it. The land actually slopes down to get to the alley, so you would see maybe 50%. And so it would be, we would like to have maybe a couple windows in the back and a door that would be similar in style to the door on the garage now. Yes. And this way, there would be no additional concrete coming, from the existing driveway. It would pretty much leave the backyard intact, and then it would just dump out into the alley.
Question? No.
I was going to say, are anything besides like honeysuckle and overgrowth, is anything being removed from the back where the garage would go, like a tree or anything, shrubs?
I don't even think there's a tree, just the honeysuckle. If there are any trees, they're really small.
Are there any other questions for the? Yes, we will. Are there any other questions for the applicant?
I'm good.
Thank you, we appreciate it.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Is there any member of the public that wishes to speak in favor of the application? There being no response, is there any member of the public that wishes to speak in opposition to the application? There being no response, is there any preliminary discussion amongst the commission?
I want to thank you guys for doing things the right way. I have to build, I have a shed too, like that. I live on South Main, and eventually we're going to have to build a garage there too and have to be subject to the same rules, so I appreciate you guys doing it the right way. Last week, I think I shared the concern with others about like white paint and whether it matched the actual character of the house, but it sounds like what you've updated with the plan works a lot better, and I would vote in favor of approving it.
A lot better plan than what we saw last month. My only concern is having it essentially facing the alleyway, as to what that'll look like from the front of the house. Maybe with doors and windows, make it look better, but it's a lot closer to what we need. Of course, you'll have gutters on it.
It's a beautiful house, by the way.
Yeah.
Very pretty.
Yeah, I feel comfortable too, compared to the first one, and your patience for coming back here and kind of explaining it better and having some. I like the second one a lot better. So, yep,
All right, do we have a motion then?
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second.
I mean, maybe I should qualify, approve given the second edition of the plan.
Yeah.
However, I would phrase that.
All right, so the question before the commission is approval of the application as modified and supplemented by the materials provided by the applicant after the last meeting.
Thank you, Matt.
Is there any debate, any request to amend the motion? All right, we'll call a roll call vote.
Mr. Carter?
Yes.
Mr. Dixon?
Yes.
Mr. Daniel? Mr. Shaneline?
Yes.
Mr. Rossi?
Yes.
All right. The approval of the application as amended and supplemented has passed.
All right, next on the agenda for tonight under old and new business is a historic preservation plan update brought to you by city staff.
Hi. We have been in communication with the consultant. I delivered all of your comments to the consultant after your last meeting. And while it was anticipated that they could turn the plan around to have for you for final review tonight, she got back with me about 2 weeks ago saying, with the amount of revisions and edits that are requested, we're now targeting the June regular meeting of Historic Commission for your final review. And then, assuming you guys are all in it, okay with how it turns out, we will then target the July meeting for adoption. And then also, the consultant will be present at the June meeting as well as the July meeting to answer any questions you might have and make sure that it is up to snuff for your review. The consultant has asked the city's support in getting pictures of various properties. So I am asking her to get like a list of property or property types of pictures that we should be taking. Our communications manager, myself, and Casey will go out and get those pictures taken. However, I do want to go ahead and ask if you guys have any recommendations of certain addresses of properties you want included in that plan, to go ahead and get those forwarded to me as soon as possible so I can get those documented and get aligned with what is needed from the consultant, what you guys are recommending, and then we'll bridge the gap with the other property types that we need to include in there. Other than that, that's all I have. Do you guys have any other questions for me? And we also have our assistant director from the department present. If you guys have any questions about, I know at the last meeting it came up that you guys wanted to invite him back if you had any questions, so. I asked it. I asked at least a week in advance. I know that doesn't give a whole lot of time, but based on her concern on getting it back to you guys, I just want to make sure we're giving the consultant enough time to fully address your comments. But I can always wrap back around and see if they can get it to me at least 2 weeks in advance for your review. And then also, if there are other external organizations you want to review, please send those a list to me. Maybe, maybe not. I'm not sure.
For downtown, it would be EMI, Cape, or Main Street. And I guess Andy would be the right one for Islands.
Okay.
Anybody else we need to add?
I'd say the Historical Society, maybe the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
So I guess we don't have a realty board anymore, but.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
Larry, you mentioned taking pictures of local structures that represent, some historic styles.
Right.
Could this same effort apply to examples of properties that could potentially be designated? Like, I'm just going to say that Forest Hills is a very historic property. It's not designated currently.
The what? I'm sorry.
There's a lot of, sorry, what?
What property?
Forest Hills Country Club.
Okay.
There's a lot of people who want to see that get designated. And I know it's, the city might not want to hold themselves accountable to something that, throwing things out there that, but I think the plan is supposed to preserve history, and part of that is designating new properties that are appropriate. So I'm wondering if we can.
Let me see what the consultant provides for that final draft. I don't want to wedge something in at the last minute and it kind of be forced on everybody. let me see what that last draft looks like and see if we can mesh that in there. And I also want to address, I think, some comments about inserting resources for people. We can include stuff that won't change, but the minute you start putting links in the document, it will age the document quickly because those links can be broken. That organization might not be around forever. So that is my recommendation to you. If you don't see maybe the full extent of resources included, the city is still here to provide those resources. The plan we want to make sure has longevity.
Thank you.
Would we be able to, this commission be able to force the inclusion of including potentially designated historic properties? Like if we,
You have the ability, I think, to suggest. I would have to look deeper into, because we would have to public notice that.
The city has generally not been supportive of using city resources to include properties where the property owner does not wish to be included.
that's like traditionally or typically, or is that a rule?
When including properties when adding new properties has been raised before, the city has basically spoken to the property owner and indicated that if they were interested in pursuing that the city would be willing to support that effort. But when we got a response that the property owner did not wish to be, it was basically dead.
But that's a practice, that's not a rule.
I would have to look at how our development code says you can approach that, and if there's review criteria, what that process is, because
I understand that the property owner's will is very important in the decision. I'm just saying that's not the law. It's not required by law.
Yes. But to survive contest by the property owner, a significant amount of resources have to be devoted to the product. And even then, if you ultimately get to the common pleas court on it in a contested matter, you're talking thousands or tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees, not to mention all the studies that have to be done and the experts that have to be employed, and the city has not, I'll say, traditionally been willing to incur that.
Okay. I'm new here, so I don't really know how this works, but I'm going to make a motion to make a suggestion from this council that this consultant include potentially designated or properties that are appropriate for historic designation. I think that should be included. Yeah, a section about here's some examples of historic properties in Middletown that are not currently designated but would be appropriate for that.
can I make a suggestion on that? I would maybe, if you want to see that included in the plan, I would not drill down to the property level. I would just general areas.
Okay.
That way we're not getting into PII or anything like that. Because if it's not currently historically designated, they might not want their property address included.
Sure.
So pictures might be okay of a building that you would suggest to accompany a light narrative, but I would not recommend going to the address level.
Okay. So I think I was trying to pass a motion to request that the consultant include potentially designated historic properties that are not currently designated.
Here's the problem. If they're identified, I think it's gonna end up being a problem based on what, as you said, and what.
I'm sorry, I meant form. Never mind. I see what you're saying now. I was saying specific properties. Claire said we should be suggesting forms, which we already are.
Well, or just general areas of the city. I wouldn't include addresses.
Okay. I don't know. What do you think? So what if I said, uh, places near, around South Main? There are lots of historic properties there, including Forest Hills, and then some of the properties that are more to the east of South Main. What if we said that area should be considered? There are properties in that area that it would be appropriate.
I think it's okay. I really just recommend, broad narratives, not calling out specific properties. And I also need to check on if this also goes to city council for adoption, because that was another consideration.
Okay. Yeah, Roger, I think that's in the recommendations I read. I think I included expansion of the South Main Historic District as a suggestion. Yeah. So I just kind of drew a boundary around things, bordering South Main, including Forest Hills. And if you want to see it. So I don't know. I mean, if you guys aren't on board, that's okay. I'll make the suggestion myself, but just wanted to bring it up.
I think it's some good valid points. I personally want that draft back first to kind of look at it, and then maybe can you look into what he was talking about, maybe get a little bit clearer, and is it something that we could, maybe he makes a motion and we could table to talk about it next meeting, or?
Yeah, maybe you want to see what the draft plan
Because
looks like.
I kind of agree with you. We're a little worried because if we kind of threw something else in there, they're going to kind of rush it.
Right.
And then something can get missed again, and then you got to wait. But I think he does bring some valid points to that. But that's just my 2 cents on it. So, but yeah.
You know when we did the Oakdale area, there were a lot of people that didn't really want to be part of the historic district, but since they were outvoted, they really had no choices. So maybe this could be along the same lines.
Sure, yeah. I would imagine there are,
But you'd have to have a majority of people that were for it.
I'm not sure exactly. That's, I mean,
It's
it would
not
help.
like one-offs or something.
Like, I know it would help get it designated, help make the city make the decision. I don't know if it's required to get a majority, but.
We don't have one. No.
CLG,
Okay. I know for a while you guys had a historic preservation specialist. There is nobody that has that title currently, is what I guess I will say.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Cool.
All right. Is there any other new or old business to be brought before the commission?
I'd like to bring one thing up. Davies, the planning commission meeting yesterday. Paul Horn, he was a council member, said he was going to submit a text amendment to put a council member onto the historic commission, which we kind of
I didn't catch that part, but that's important.
Paul Horn yesterday, did you ever, plans on being a voting member?
It will be a non-voting member, similar as planning commission. So your council liaison will be sitting probably where Mr. Rodriguez is sitting currently. No. No. It'll be the same as planning commission where you have a council member in attendance. They'll be able to speak on cases just like your secretary or attorney. I think you're going to have a bit of a waiting period because it hasn't formally been initiated. So, yeah. So once it's initiated to the council and gets formally voted on to send to planning commission, I then have to public notice for 30 days. Let's assume you guys vote on it the first time it's before you at planning commission. I then have to public notice in another 30 days. It goes to city council, and depending on if they pass it as an emergency or not. But there's going to be a bit of a lag time, but it's coming. Any other questions? Cool.
Just to have someone from the council show up occasionally. A voting member would require some more severe edits, I think, to the code. Since
Would we have a voting council member on the architectural review board?
yes, but it's basically written with the 7 members, there being how many are required for a quorum, how many are required to act. I mean, potentially you could have, you either need to change it so that 5 was a quorum, or 5 members would need to be act. Or
See, with Andy, when he shows up, he gets 6,
Mhm.
and the code does say 7, so he could be slotted in there somewhere.
Yeah, but I mean, we already have basically a designee from the planning council as one of the 7 as a voting member. If we also have a city council member as a voting member, then trying to hit all the other points that we're supposed to cover in the members of the commission, where basically 2 of the 7 members are already parts of the city apparatus otherwise.
I wasn't advocating for him being voted.
Okay.
But I thought I'd report what I thought was happening. That's all I had.
Just briefly on the designation question, there's a little bit of back and forth on that. The process, as I read it through the code, is you would hold a hearing after, deciding whether or not to designate a property as historic, and then that would be referred to city council, who can then hold a hearing, and then they would approve or deny that, and then certify it and record it in the county.
Mhm.
If that's okay.
Right. I was just talking about it getting included in the preservation plan as, just to be there.
Yeah, totally different question. Yeah.
Thank you.
Did any member of the commission have questions that they wanted to put to our guest who came here to be available to be questioned?
Say with all the attachments to this, you'll have to work with him.
We do appreciate you attending.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Do we have any update on what's going to happen with Manchester or?
I do not have any updates on the Manchester. I can request them from our chief building official and then provide you guys with an update either via email or at the next meeting if that's comfortable with you guys. Awesome.
Does Mr. Tuttle, is he a structural engineer? Do you know if he has that? He's not?
That I do not know.
Okay,
He's not. Mm-mm.
that's interesting.
The city has hired a structural engineer to go through these buildings, so they're providing reports to the city. This is not just the city driven.
Okay, thank you. I didn't know I don't know a lot. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I do have one last thing for the board members. So as we have new staff, such as myself and new board members present, there was discussion of doing a boards and commissions training. Is there a day and time that works for you to do this? Would you guys be interested in maybe coming in an hour or so early one meeting before this meeting to have a training session? Or do you guys think you're good to go, don't need that?
And we had one fairly recently, so,
You did?
but we have had a lot of turnover on the board even since then.
I think I could benefit from training.
Yeah.
Same for me.
Does
I
it,
can always get one scheduled, and then if you're available to come, that works. Do you think doing it maybe 30, 45 minutes before a regular meeting would work?
Yes.
Okay. Work with your schedule? Anyone else?
I was gonna say, maybe, last time I think we did it was in, like, after the meeting or something. Like that, that's usually a little better, because
Yeah.
typically on those days I come from Cincinnati, so it's a little harder to sometimes with traffic. But
Yeah.
whatever you guys want, I'm flexible, so.
I'm flexible.
Are you all okay with after? Okay, perfect. I'll plan on that then, and then I'll send out an email to remind you all once I work with legal to get something scheduled.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Is there any other matter that needs to be brought before the Middletown City Historic Commission? There being no response, do we have a motion?
I'll motion to adjourn.
We have a second.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. This meeting of the Middletown City Historic Commission is adjourned.